Hello everybody, my name is Cool, but I'm bringing out this video of me playing a board game or talking about a board game, and today we're going to be doing the review of Empire, the third game in the Nano9 series. This one, Series 1. I've already done a playthrough, teach and review of these two, and I've just got done doing a playthrough of Empire, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the review. Let me get our music started in the background. That way we can have some nice non-silence back there. But as far as everything goes with this game is essentially a kind of empire builder, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it. I'm essentially trying to build out my central board and score points over the course of 16 rounds or 15 rounds initially, but actually 16 rounds when you do the counting of the rounds, because you play round 0 and you play round 30. So as a result of that, this game essentially just boils down to how efficiently can you build your engine, how efficiently can you convert your resources into points when you can, or money when you need it, and it's just kind of trying to balance that you know, kind of, I don't want to say razor's edge, but balance that. How can I maximize my profit every round to also, and also make sure I still have actions that I can take every round. So I'm not going to go over a full teach of this game. Essentially, I did a full teach and playthrough in the previous video, so please check it out if you want to see the full rules of this game. But essentially in this game, you are starting with a central factory that has certain tracks that you're keeping track of. There's 4 different resources. The central factory has all 4. And with those resources, you are essentially trying to go through and use them, get them built up to allow you to build other buildings like this one here. And this building has its resources like that. Actually, let me bring up on the zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. So it has its resources that it requires to build it like that, and then it has some effects that can happen based on where cards are played or when they're played, and they don't always trigger, but they can trigger. And the whole point of me saying all that is just that you're just trying to build your factory and score points over the course of the rounds. There are certain rules for placement of the building. There's a few different interactions. It's a whole thing going on. And like I said, I don't want to get into a full teach of the game, but I will say that a few things about this game that stood out to me that I liked a lot was that it does kind of have that nice crunchy feel, or the appearance of crunchiness, the appearance of like, how do I min-max my my resources? How do I make sure I have enough resources left? And you can definitely plan out your entire turn and make sure that you have everything that you need to do what you need to do. There are some mitigations that this game gives you. There's random information in the form of what the market die is going to do and what's going to allow you to actually kind of do. But outside of that, there's not really a ton of random. So I say mitigation, I say that very lightly, as in you can decide to interact with this or not. But if you want to score points, you're going to have to interact with this in this game. And sometimes that can be good, sometimes that can be pretty crummy. And this game does give you a few options as far as how do you approach that. Do you want to just build all the buildings to get the points printed on the cards at the end of the game? Or do you want to just do a bunch of resource generation and conversion? There is some phasing order in it, and it has a whole bunch going for it. Definitely a lot more than City Planner. If you haven't checked out my review for City Planner, it was short because the game was short. And essentially, there's a lot more decision space in this one. I think one of the things that I guess is kind of strange to me is that, I was kind of reading online trying to figure out what the average scores were. So apparently the average scores for many people was about 120 points. In my game, I'm not going to spoil what my exact score was, but it wasn't that high relative to what the average score was, or what people were scoring on the playtesting and everything. So I don't fully understand, I guess, some of the mechanics, or fully understand how to interact with some of the mechanics to actually maximize my points. But what it comes down to is every round is scoring about at least 5 points every round. So 16 rounds, 5 points a round. I don't know what that maths out to, but it sounds like it maths out to about what my score was. And that's kind of how it felt, of like, just like, let me do the math. Yeah, 80 points is what that comes out to, and I'm scoring about 5 points every round. And that's not including the building cost here, or the building final victory points. And I guess that, I mean, technically in my game that I played, there were a few rounds where I was kind of inefficient, so it led to some wasted turns, for sure. So maybe I could have scored more points if I just planned better. But it boils down to that there's enough decision space in this game to where I can see the potential to score a lot of points in this game. But my 3 playthroughs, including the one I recorded, don't seem to reach that level. Maybe it's just because how I played the game. Maybe it's because how I approach the game. Maybe it's my approach to just trying to avoid all the things. And also because I played on the A side instead of the B side, which allows you to convert your raw money your direct money into resources. So note you have 4 different conversions you can do here for victory points. Whereas on the A side, you only have 3 different resources you can convert into victory points. So maybe that's what it was. I'm not entirely sure. I do know that this game does have a nice feel to it. I don't like the amount of space that it takes up, because it kind of takes up a very varied amount of space depending on how you're building your factory out. But I will say, compared to something like Railways, which is the other game, I think I would prefer Railways over this one. And I'll do a full comparison of all 3 games in a separate video that I'll do next. But the final thing on this game is that I do think it's fun. Board Game Geek has this currently rated at 6.1. I think I would agree with that rating. Maybe 7, maybe 6.5, just to give like a little bit more credit, because it does feel like I'm doing a lot, but the destination of where I end up doesn't quite feel like it might have been worth all the brain burn. But the fact that this game has some brain burn to it is pretty impressive, considering that it's only 9 cards, and these cards are double-sided. So these cards are double-sided, so it gives you a little bit of variety, and they have different events I can trigger and different approaches you can do, different strategies you might have to do depending on what you have on the board. So I do appreciate the variety, and definitely, again, I'll talk about comparison. I was gonna say, again, not to crap too much on City Planner, but it has way more variety in City Planner for sure. So I'll give it that credit, especially for such a game, for such a small game in the Nano9 series that has 9 cubes, 9 dice, and 9 cards. So I'm a little bit impressed by that part. It's just again, the final result of where I ended up after I played through a full playthrough of this game doesn't quite feel like it's all that worth it. Whereas something like Clinic, a different game, way bigger, way more pieces, and made by Alvin Villard, which is in this series. Todd Sanders is a different designer, but Alvin Villard made Clinic, which is also Alvin Villard, just to clarify, has produced some of the other ones here, or has helped design some of the other ones here. I feel like the decision space is there, but I don't feel like it was worth the investment. Again, the comparison I was using, a game like Clinic, it has that same like, do a whole bunch of stuff, kind of brain burning thing, but the final result feels nice and it feels good. And in this game, with my final score being what it was, I guess maybe I just didn't have that impressive of a playthrough. Maybe I wasn't as efficient as I thought I was going to be. Maybe I just need to get better at the game and play it a few more times. But I feel like after 3 playthroughs under my belt, I have a really good enough understanding of at least the A side to say that, yeah, it feels like it's an interesting game. I see what it's trying to do, but I personally think that the rating on Board Game Geek, 6.1, sounds about accurate. I might give it a 6.5 just to give it a little bit more wiggle room, like I said before, for just being a small game, and I'm a huge fan of small games. But all in all, yeah, it's a game that I think it's reasonable. It would not be a game that hits the table all that often for me, but for the experience, for the time that I put into it, it's interesting up to a point. And then I do feel like I don't feel like it overstays its welcome, which is a huge credit to it. But I do feel like, after I kind of look back at all the things I did and the sacrifices I made to resource-wise in the game, I don't know if the conversions were quite where it should be to feel good. But that's just my own personal take on it, because as a game that seems to be an engine builder, I don't think this one's all that much of an engine builder. I think it's more of a resource management game. And if you can just manage your resources and then get your actions in the correct order, then you can do really well at this game. But again, me going to this game kind of hoping for an engine builder, getting more of a resource management, might be a reason why I kind of have the reservations that I have for the game. So that's going to be it. Not really much else to talk about. I am going to go ahead and do the next video of being the review of all 3 of the games, just kind of comparing them to each other, talking about the series as a whole and my overall feeling. But that's going to be it for this particular video of Empire. So yeah. Oh, wait. Of course. I gotta complain about the rulebook. There are some rules ambiguities in this rulebook, as always. I just want to make sure I say that, because I think I said it for every single game so far, and that remains true for this game too. This rulebook definitely took a few read-throughs. I do appreciate the pictures, and I do think it did a better job of delivering the message than I want to say Railways did. Don't quote me on that. But also, some of the rules inconsistencies were thankfully caught by people on the forums, and Todd was pretty involved in the forums to actually answer some of the questions, so that's been nice. But yeah, it just kind of boils down to a small rule book. You got some things that are not fully explained. More examples would be nice, but again, if we're trying to keep the size down, that can lead to some cutting of corners of explaining things that maybe didn't pop up during playtesting, or maybe just didn't have space for on the rulebook. I don't know. All right, cool. So that's going to be it. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you all whenever.